Here at Paddy Power, we're the home of the Money Back Special, with some incredible offers every single week. Check out the website or app today. Terms and conditions apply. 18 plus begambleaware.org.
Hello and welcome to this Monday Postcast. I'm Maddie Plell, joined in the studio by Nick Watts, and Mark Boylan is also on the line, our Irish representative this time around, as well as Paul Binfield from Paddy Power. Now, what a week we have to review. We have Goodwood and Galway, two of the really sort of meaty summer festivals that we've got to look back on so much, so we're going to try and rattle through them fairly sharpish, just looking at the main highlights, one of which was Too Darn Hot Sussex win, which is just behind us. But first off, Watsy, I'll go to you and sort of say in general, did you have a profitable week? What was the highlight?
There was loads of highlights of Goodwood for me, some great performances. I thought the Khadija Miller was brilliant, winning the Magnolia Cup. But, I'm sure, a lot of people have said it, but it's true. It was fantastic to see that. But yeah, a good week as well. We saw some stunning performances, which I'm sure we'll go through in a minute, from, Cardem, who looked a group horse in the handicapper, to Stradivarius, who's just like, the immovable force, isn't he, in the staying division, to Pinatubo. It was fantastic. It was a really good meeting from beginning to end. Yeah,
indeed. Let's start off with the first day then. We saw Pinatubo winning really impressively, unbeaten now. Binners, what price to see for the Guineas next year?
Hello there, Maddie. Well, Pinatubo, what a performance. Stunned the crowd at Goodwood with that one. Pinatubo is after the race, we went 9-4 favourite from 8-1 favourite. He's slightly eased now, and he heads the market at 5-2 favourite. And behind him, you've got Siskin, Arizona, and Armory. The first two of those could take part in the Phoenix Stakes this Friday, but we'll be talking about that later.
Oh, you stole my thunder there, Binners. I thought that was a great little intro for me to link to later on what we're going to talk about. But yeah, Pinatubo, Watsy, great minds indeed. How impressed were you? Because he just seems to be getting better and better, and nothing in Britain anyway seems to keep up with him.
Yeah, at this moment in time, I think he's quite a long way clear, isn't he? It's always a different game by the autumn. Something else would have come along by then. I'm sure Aidan will have another, few to throw into the fire. So we've got to, I wouldn't be taking the 5-2 at this stage. I think that's short enough for any horse. But you cannot argue with what he's done so far. He's done it on different tracks. He's won at Epsom and Goodwood, which aren't the easiest tracks for a juvenile. He's scorched home at both those courses. He's gone to the Cauldron of Royal Ascot and he's excelled there. He won the Chesham. So, there's very little not to like about him at the moment. You just simply can't argue with what he's done. The only thing you can quibble about, if you are an anti-post punter, is that would you really want to be tying up your money on a 5-2 shot this far out from a Guineas, which doesn't happen until next April? Personally, I wouldn't. I can understand why they shortened him on the back of that Goodwood display there, because he just looked exceptional, and he's looked at in all his runs this season. It's just whether he can carry that through to the autumn and what comes out of the woodwork, which I'm sure there will be quite a few to come when the big autumn tests come along.
Yeah, you'd surely expect there to be a few coming through and sort of challenging him for that position at the head of the Guineas market. Mark, I'll go to you next to talk about Stradivarius, a wonderful horse who just doesn't know how to not win, it seems.
He just keeps finding a way, Matty, doesn't he? He's a winning machine. And it's the sort of thing when you get into that habit and just getting used to getting your head in front. And he's better value than the winning margin as well. He's just an absolute, he's a star stayer, and we're very lucky to have him in this division. But I think Weatherby's that initiative with the bonus, it really has brought this division to life. But it's a pleasure to watch him, and you can just set your watch by him. I hope he keeps going unbeaten in this run. It just makes it interesting, because I think for years some of these races have been pretty ordinary. They haven't really captured the imagination, but now you genuinely look forward to seeing him. So it was a class performance, and Frankie, again, it's amazing. I think he's riding better than ever. Obviously, it would be an easy thing to say, but his style of riding, in terms of his lack of resorting to the whip, it's so easy on the eye to watch. It's a pleasure to see him at the minute, and what a horse! Fantastic performance.
Yeah, another Group 1 for him on Sunday with Advertiser course. More of that later. Too Darn Hot, another name to throw into the mix. Watsy, he finally sort of got a big one, didn't he, this year in the Sussex?
Yeah, I'm really pleased for the horse, actually, because, when he did all that he did as a 2-year-old, and then he gets beaten on his first couple of runs this season, people are starting to knock him and say, well, he was just a 2-year-old. He hasn't really grown. The horse has developed past him. And he's really gone back on track, hasn't he? And, he's won his last 2 now. And it's very rare that John Gosden ever makes a mistake in life, and he gets the vast majority of things right. But just the way they started this season, maybe they just panicked a little bit when they missed the Greenham and was forced to miss the Guineas. At that stage, they didn't know that he wouldn't stay, so you can kind of understand them going for the Dante first time out. But the pace that he shows in his races shows that they are barking up the wrong tree, and this kind of it's a strange thing because his pedigree says that he should get middle distances, no problem at all. But he shows so much speed in his races that it's like people have said, you could even probably drop him back to 6 furlongs for the champion sprinter Royal Ascot.
I'd like to see that.
In the autumn, and I don't think he'd be out of place because he's seeing out these mile trips, but he needs an easy mile because nothing can. He's just there ready to go, isn't he? And nothing can kind of take him into the race for long enough. He's just itching to go faster, and he just sees out an easy mile, but the stiff mile at Ascot caught him out. And I'm just really pleased to see him back to the horse that we all knew and saw and really enjoyed as a 2-year-old. He certainly hasn't lost it. He's just doing it over different distances than we maybe expected him to.
Yeah, one thing that maybe we didn't expect as well was to see Deirdre winning the Nassau, Mark. What did you think of that? A real big moment for Japan.
Yeah, fantastic to see. And I thought the coverage afterwards, there's some lovely clips on social media, the lads associated with him enjoying it. I thought that was really good to watch. But this is a smart filly. I'm really looking forward to hopefully seeing her at Irish Champions weekend, if that's where she comes over to. But Rushy Murphy is probably the story I took from this, the association he's built up with people in Japan, and they seem to have a real fondness for him, anyone that's associated with him over there. And, the context he's building, it's a different sort of model than some riders have taken. And it's really reaping dividends, and it'd be amazing now if come arc time, if he had something spectacular lined up from a Japanese point of view. He's a rider I have a huge amount of time for, and I thought this was a super performance. Frankie maybe a little bit too soon, but at the same time now I thought this was a proper fit. I was delighted to see her get her day in the sun because obviously it hadn't panned out last time, but cracking to see it, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think the ground was a real key thing for her. Medi, did Frankie go a little bit too soon? Who knows? But Hermosa, she was disappointing, wasn't she? Yeah. Binners, we talk about Too Darn Hot and Deirdre. Have you got any prices on those two?
Yeah, Maddie, we're not quite sure where Too Darn Hot's going to go now. I got him completely wrong. I didn't think he quite stayed a mile. I agree with Watts. It'd be lovely to see him over sprint distances. Looks like he's going to stay over a mile. Mr. Gosden mentioned the Mulan and the QE2, but the one race we have got him priced up for is the Breeders' Cup Mile. I think that could well be the aim for the horse, and he's in there at 3-1 favourite with Bricks and Mortar at 9-1, Circus Maximus at 10. As for Deirdre, a little bit confusing, Maddie, to know exactly where she's going to go now. The connections didn't really mention any particular targets, although they did say they go back to Newmarket and regroup. But wherever she goes, she'll be a lot shorter than that 20-1 the other day.
Indeed. Let's talk about some of the sprinters now. Batash, he won his third King George. What a performance. Probably not as explosive as he was the year before. Hootson was running on really strongly at the end, Watsy, but would you say he's back to his best?
Well, Charlie Hill's had a great festival, didn't he? And, Batash would have been the pinnacle for him, and, so he'd be delighted that he got the job done, and he added a few other races as well. Obviously, he had the big winner on Saturday too, so fantastic for him. But he's obviously got a real soft spot for Batash. He's been around for a few seasons now. I think Charlie thinks he gets a bit of unfair criticism sometimes because for all the brilliance he shows on occasions, he doesn't do it every single time. And
unpredictable, isn't he?
I just think he's got courses that he likes and courses he doesn't like. York has been a big problem for him in the past. It was really interesting to hear afterwards that Charlie Hills is still going to go there and still going to give it a go. And hats off to him for that. And in a way, they've got nothing to lose. The horses are gelding, so they can afford to take chances with him and kind of throw him into the race again just to see once and for all if he can do it at York, because they don't have to worry about the consequences of stud careers and that kind of thing. So being beaten isn't an issue for them. They'll throw him into that. It could be the Flying Five, could be the Prix de l'Abbé again. It's hard with Batash because sometimes when you think he's going to put in a huge display, sometimes he doesn't. So I'd slightly kind of disagree with Charlie in a way, whereas he can be brilliant, but you're never quite sure with Batash, even though he's kind of calmed down mentally now, exactly what he's going to produce. And if you asked me if I was going to have a bet on him at York, I probably wouldn't because of what's gone on there in the last couple of seasons where he has been below par. Indeed.
What does the Nunthorpe market look like at the moment, Binners?
Well, after Batash won his third King George, Maddie, we left him unchanged at 5-2. He's still that price, and that's because he's got the mighty force of July Cup winner 10 Sovereigns heading the market at 2-1. But what a clash that is! The York marketing team have got a dream if those two both show up. Then we've got 5-1 Mab Cross in there at 5-1. Ali for Simon Crisp at 7, and it's 12-1 bar.
Yeah, you mentioned Ali. He could well go to the Phoenix Stakes at the weekend as well. Another 2-year-old who I thought would have been not out of place at all in the Nunthorpe was Liberty Beach, who won the Molecombe, of course, but it doesn't seem like they're going to go that way. John Quinn, he loves the pre-morning. I think that's the direction they're going to go in with her. Mark, we'll go back to you, and you were talking about Oisin Murphy as a jockey before. Another brilliant riding performance, I thought, came from Jamie Spencer on Desert Encounter.
Yeah, geez, no, and to be fair, Jamie, when his confidence is up, he's fantastic. I thought earlier in the year here, he gave Mr. Lupton an absolute peach and then went on and did similar again on Phoenix of Spain, albeit in different tactics. But yeah, delighted for Desert Encounter, knocking on the door and had earned a race like this. But no, I enjoyed it. It wasn't a race now for me that I'd be looking forward to in the sense of I wouldn't take major note from it going forward. But yeah, good performance. And Jamie, he's a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I think it's a joy when you see jockeys like him sat there and just picking him up. It did help that I had a few quid on him, I must say.
I was going to say, you're only saying that because you backed him. I read your copy this morning.
Yeah, it was a last-minute decision. I did enjoy that. Anyway, enough of a shameless plug from me. King's Advice, Watsy. What an almighty horse this is.
Well, if ever a horse summed up the way Mark Johnston operates, and it's kind of, if you had one horse which signifies or his string, it is King's Advice, isn't it?
Because been reading my copy again. That's what I put in my report, more or less.
Well, yeah, he just runs so often, and he just runs to form so often, and he just keeps winning, and he's got a real will to win, and you can see that in his races, the way he sticks his head out and
giving everything, isn't it?
Giving it absolutely everything, and you wouldn't say that he stopped winning yet. The way he keeps doing it, I think there could be even more to come from him. And he's a beautifully bred horse as well. He's by Frankel out of Queen's Logic, I think, who's a very, very good filly back in the day. So he's got all the genes there as well, and he's got the performance to go with it and the attitude. And Mark Johnston his horses are granite, aren't they? And no horse exemplifies that better than King's Advice.
Yeah, exactly. Not overly big, I noticed when he came back in, but I really enjoyed speaking to Joe Fanning, who's unbeaten on him, and he's got such a good reputation with the horse. And he said, anyone could ride him. He's dead easy, and he even thought he was beat. But King's Advice, just as you say, made of granite. Is he still sort of the 10-1 mark for the Ebor Binners?
Yeah, Maddie. Actually, he now heads the market immediately after the race. When you were down at Goodwood the other day, I handed you a slip for 10-1 from 14-1. That was too big. Punters have come in again, and he's now 8-1 favourite. Second in the market with Hold and Raheen House, both on 10, and first 11 Baghdad Outbox on 12-1, and it's 14-1 the rest.
Thanks, Binners. Let's get on to some of the later action in the week then. En Bihar again on Saturday. Really impressive, Watsy. What's next for her? Is the sky the limit?
She certainly was very impressive. I thought that was an open race beforehand. I thought Dramatic Queen had a chance too, but En Bihar absolutely pulverised them and put distance between themselves and the rivals in a way that you weren't expecting beforehand. So yeah, it was obviously a top-class performance. Adds to the stellar cast of fillies John Gosden has got this season.
Doesn't it just?
The embarrassment of riches is extraordinary. He had one earlier in the week, you mentioned Medaille. He's got so many others too. We haven't seen Anna Perna since the Oaks. She's got to come back soon. Heard she might even take on Enable in the Yorkshire Oaks. And it's a lovely problem to have, slotting in these fillies into all these different races for John Gosden. But he's got one for virtually every occasion, hasn't he? So this is another.
Yeah, indeed. The Stewards' Cup then went to Cardem, really straightforward for a 28 runner handicap or whatever it was. He was the group horse in the handicap, got some great form to his name and just absolutely cantered through off a strong pace set by Ornate. Mark, what did you think of Cardem? I mean, it was pretty bloodless, wasn't it?
But to be honest, you've taken the words out there. Usually in these sort of races, I tend to fall for a horse that needs gaps, needs to get looking, running. Is often have your hands over your eyes, trying to find a run through. But with this, you never had a moment's worry at all. And I think, as you've said there, if you're winning a race like this off 9 stone 6 as a 3-year-old, you have to be going back and really thinking he's a proper group performer, and just looked very exciting. And another smart performer there for the Gosden Crowley crew, and I'm not sure where he'd rack up. It's a big step up to go from handicap company into group class, and I think perhaps if he came over to Ireland, there could be opportunities for him here. Sometimes our sprinters aren't, as you see yourself, when they come over for the handicaps here, or even the sprints in general, we probably don't have as much as a bunch, but be very interested to see where he goes next. But yeah, this was really, really straightforward.
Yeah, Haydock Sprint Cup, I believe Binner's priced him up for. We'll just check those quotes in a minute, but I mean, really, really impressive. He did. Charlie Hills did a similar thing with Magical Memory in 2015, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly that. He's got previous with doing this, so obviously he knows the route and he knows the kind of horse you need to bring this kind of thing off. And I think it really helped him as well that Ornate set such a scorching gallop. And he was always within his comfort zone. You could see him. Your eye was kind of drawn to him on the far side. Waiting to be unleashed. And it's funny that there was a lot of. He was well supported in the build-up to the race, but there's also a lot of negativity about him as well. That a lot of people didn't seem to think he was the good thing that the market suggested he was. But this one, the market got right, and you could see from the furlong, 2 furlongs out, that the writing was on the wall for the rest of them. And he was, as Mark suggested, the proverbial group horse in the handicap, which if you can spot and you can get on, it's great. You don't always get them, but Cardin was obviously a blot on the handicap this time.
Yeah, 16-1 first show, Binners. I bet that hurt you a little bit, didn't it? Was it 4-1 in the end?
Yeah, 4-1 in the end, Maddie. When we, as you say, when we opened the market 16-1, it cost us well into 6 figures. And luckily for us, you only managed to get 7-1, Maddie. So that we've escaped lightly with those figures.
I'm still kicking myself.
I know, but well done. Charlie Hills did mention Haydock. Mark did his good bit for Irish advertising, trying to get the horse over there. But we think he's going. We think he's going to Haydock. 10 Sovereigns heads the market at 9-4. Then we go advertise. We'll mention him in a minute. 11-4, 4-1, 2 Don Hot, 8 Fairyland. Kadeem is now 8-1. We went 10-1 immediately after the race, but that was too big, and he's now currently an 8-1 poke.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks, Binners. Before we move on to Galway, a really quick chat about that, Mark. Just interested to get your thoughts on the Magnolia Cup. What's he mentioned it at the top of the show, and a real feel-good story that I've spoken about quite a lot already, actually, and I think it's really resonated with a lot of people.
Yeah, actually, it was mentioned there as well. My mind got distracted here. I'm up in the commentary box here in Cork at the moment, and something caught my eye. I mentioned it was Gosden rather than Hills. Mr. O'Hanlon, Justin has been kind enough to lend me his spot to do the podcast here at the track. But Charlie Hills, obviously, trainer rather than John Gosden. My mind was still an MBR. Yeah, but this was a cracking story, wasn't it? For me now, if you didn't enjoy this, there was something wrong with you. I thought this was it just had all the hallmarks, and when you get racing an opportunity like this to get it into the news pages of the paper rather than resign to the sports pages solely, it has to be positive. And and really amazing. You think that someone who has so little experience, so little time with race horses to do it, and fair play to her, she was good and balanced and got the job done. But just regardless of whether it was bolting up by 10 lengths or getting up by a nose, it was always going to be a fantastic result the way it all panned out. So hats off to her. Brilliant to see it.
Indeed, yeah. Well done to our Kitty Trice for completing as well, of course, the Magnolia Cup. I feel like it really had some life breathed back into it this year, Watson. Brilliant story that just shows racing's for everyone.
Yeah, it's exactly true what you say. That it was a great result, and hats off to Khadija, and it's fantastic. It shows that racing. I wouldn't say racing is for everyone. I'd say it shows that what racing can do if it just if it can be inclusive, but it can do so much more as well. And hopefully this is a springboard to racing doing that This would be no good if it happened in isolation, and then we get to the e-board meeting, we forget all about what Khadija did and what happened and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's only any good if racing uses it as a lever to say, well, look at what's happened here, and let's roll out these riding centres. If they've got one in Brixton, let's have one in Sheffield, Liverpool, Glasgow, those kind of places, and then you get more interaction, more people like Khadija into the game, and racing can do so much more and be so much better at being more inclusive, with its audience and with the people that go racing. And this is brilliant, but if it just happens in isolation, it won't be any good. They need to follow up on this.
Yeah, very good point there. We're all saying it's excellent, but you are right. Racing does still have a long way to go, I think, in that sort of inclusivity bracket. Let's move on to Galway then. We can't dismiss it. Fantastic week for you, Mark. I'll be talking primarily to you during this bit. Let's talk about the plate first off. Boris then. He was pretty well fancied and he got the job done.
Yeah, this is more to my liking. I've been indulging in Ballybrid all week here. I've been having Goodwood on one screen, but the big picture was calling for me. Yeah, Boris, very, very good performance. Had gained kind of confidence in lower graded races over your side of the water, and then sprung up here. And to be honest, though, my heart went out to Bryony Frost. Thought she was very unlucky on Blackcourt, and the loose horse just caused all sorts of problems for her in the top of the straight. And I think praise should go to Dennis O'Regan as well on Snogsborough Benny. Really proper run up the inside, and some people said that you would need to be ridden handier to prosper here, but he proved you didn't have to. And he's when he's on his game, I think Dennis is as good a rider. He's a Jamie Spencer-esque sort of jockey, but I thought that was a cracking effort from Liam Cusick's charge. And but no, Boris now he's a sort of horse that could continue to progress through this. I know when he landed on these shores from France initially for I think it was the Paddy Power or the Tiesti, something like that. He was short enough prices for it, and the vibes were strong. But he's obviously just taken a little while to acclimatise. But what a pot to pop up in here! 300,000 euros. It's already been well worth his journey over here. So yeah, great result. And delighted for Luke Dempsey as well, a rider who, when given the ammunition, is capable. So no, good result. And Gordon Elliott, his record in the plate continues to be impressed.
Yeah, indeed. Over the last couple of years, another man you haven't been able to get out the headlines is Robbie Power, and he was back at it again with Tudor City.
By God, yeah. This was an absolute. He'd be incredibly brave the whole way through, and it's worth remembering as well. Robbie hadn't even had 10 rides since coming back from issues with his vertebrae. I think it was T7 or something like that. But he suffered a bad robe, came back, and he didn't ride like a man that was only had a handful of rides back since. But delighted for Tony Martin. Been an up and down time for him. Obviously, Annabelle Fly has done him proud there in big races like the Gold Cup, but this was a super performance. The plan well executed. It was messy enough in behind, wasn't it? Really, though, there was lots of kind of hard look stories. I thought Davis Charm ran with plenty of promise for John Joe Walsh in Cork. There's a day in him, and there's definitely a day in him on the flat when all falls right. But no, delighted for Tony Martin, and they opted not to run him again on the Friday when he was declared for the Guinness handicap. But a well-earned break for him, and I'm sure he'll be back for more.
Yeah, indeed. One horse who was back for more numerous times over the week was One Cool Poet. Extraordinary training performance there, and the horse. Credit goes to that team. I mean, that is just almighty, isn't it?
Well, I'll be honest. I was on the runner-up the first day, and when I saw One Cool Poet come upside, I said, thank God, it's only One Cool Poet. This fella doesn't go through with the job. This fella is a bit of a rogue. He really thinks about it. But as I was saying there earlier on to all the lads, a Houdini escaped from the water cell, Dynamo walked on water, and Billy Lee got One Cool Poet to win over a mile at Galway. It was absolutely genius. Like the horse, though, it was amazing the difference, getting your head in front, the confidence what it did to him. And he got more impressive at every run through the week. And on the last day, or the second last day of the festival, his last win, when he equaled Busted Tycoon's record, it was unbelievable. Like me and you and Billy Lee all would have won them on the back at the one time, and that's more than the £12 penalty that he had to carry. Like, it was a serious performance, and hats off to Matthew Smith. But it just goes to show you that when a horse gets his head in front, the confidence it can give them. I think he was on a 25 race losing streak. He was £7 worse off than a horse he was beaten ahead by at Limerick, and that horse was miles back on the day. It was just incredible. But great scenes, and I'm from Offaly myself, a county in the middle of Ireland, and we don't get too much to shout about, but Shane Lowry is from there, and he won the golf recently. That was a big celebration, and the owners of One Cool Poet are from Offaly, and they were singing our county song inside in the winner's enclosure. So that was an enjoyable one. And we don't get much to shout about, but we'll take any chance we can. And fair play to the poet, who I've been given a hard time to over the years.
I love that. Absolutely love it. So much enthusiasm for the game, Mark. I'm going to be really cruel now and give you one more horse that you can mention throughout the week. What were you most impressed by?
I thought Petite Musique could really be a proper group filly. She won that maiden that lots of Aiden Smart ones have won. I'm really looking forward to seeing her wherever she goes next. She had a real touch of class about her, and there was some talk about some of the runners in there as well. Has been pretty smart on the day too. But I think really when you're looking at, there's lots of potential handicap winners going forward. But for me, she just struck me as one now that could be a little bit special. Johnny O'Brien was pretty praiseworthy after for her too. So Petite Musique for me, one I think on the Tuesday or the Wednesday.
Thanks very much, Mark. That's fabulous. That's all we've got time for the review part of the show, but we'll be back in just a moment to look ahead to some of the action this week.
What's my horse's handicap? The fact that you're backing him? Everyone loves a newbie. That's why Paddy Power Games are giving all new customers 60 free spins on daily jackpot games. New Paddy Power Games customers only, one per customer. T's and C's apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Welcome back to this Monday Postcast. Now we've got some good action in Ireland to look ahead to this week. On Thursday, the 6:55 at Leopardstown is the Grenk Finance Ballyroan Stakes, a Group 3 over a mile and a half, won by Azira last year, who went on to run really well internationally and elsewhere. Latrobe, the highest rated one in here for Joseph O'Brien. Then we've got the likes of Who's Steph, that really consistent mare, and Broad Street, the unbeaten horse as well, an interesting contender. Watsy, who did you side with in the end?
I'd be interested if Il Paradiso turned up. Just looking at his entries, his future entries, he's in absolutely everything. He's in all the St Ledgers, he's in the Doncaster, he's in the Irish St Ledger as well. He's had two wins this season, sandwiched in between a kind of below par run behind Sovereign, although I'd forgive him that. He was up to 2 miles the last time and he won easily, absolutely hosed up. And I think, there's still a bit of work to do before you can kind of decide or kind of semi-guess what O'Brien might run in the Ledger, but I think Il Paradiso might be quite high on his list for that. And if it is, then this kind of race is kind of, maybe a nice stepping stone for him. So be very interested. We obviously haven't got the final run as we speak, but if Il Paradiso turned up, I'd be interested in him.
Yeah, interesting and progressive horse, that's for sure. Mark, what do you think?
Yeah, no more than what Nick said there. It's difficult to get a handle on what's going to turn up here. But I think Barbados is one that I'd like to keep on side. I think as Nick has pointed out, the 3-year-olds, the £10 allowance could be very key here that they get. Thought the run on the Queen's Vase against Ashton Willoughby was good, albeit he was well positioned there. And I just think the Bahrain Trophy was a messy enough race. We had one that went off at 1,000,000 miles an hour in front. Very hard to get a gauge of where you were. And I'd just be willing to take a chance on him. I think he could still have more to come, albeit he's a little bit exposed, but I just think he could have a little bit more to come in him. I don't see him as a Ledger type, and I think Nick's on the ball. Il Paradiso, I just think he'll need a little bit further than 1.5 miles. To me now, he looked an absolute out-and-out stare, and just in group company, he could need a little bit further again. But wouldn't be down on him. But I like the younger horses going into this here.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's always eye-catching at this time of year, isn't it, when you get those 3-year-olds in the open company and they get those allowances. Binners, what do you think? Who did you end up siding with?
I'm going to side with proven form, Maddie. I'm going to go with Joseph O'Brien's Latrobe. But hasn't won yet this season, but he's been running well consistently, only beating a fag paper by Twilight Payment in the Curragh Cup. And you mentioned other horses that are well entered. He's got loads of entries. I see him as a sort of Irish Ledger type. So be interesting to see if he can win this and then come back to the Curragh over slightly further later in the year.
Yeah, that could certainly be the direction they're going to go, but you wouldn't want to second guess them, would you? On Friday, we go over to the Curragh and the 650. What a race we could have in store here. It's the Keenan Phoenix Stakes, the Group 1 over 6 furlongs for the juveniles. We've got At Ali, Siskin, Monarch of Egypt and Arizona. Potentially all of them could face off. I'm really excited for this. Mark, I'll go to you first. I mean, for me, I think Siskin's been a horse that not enough people are talking about. I think he really is awesome.
Yeah, geez, he's done nothing wrong. And I think the temptation that was resisted by not going to Royal Ascot with him is going to reap dividends as he goes through the year. I really, heart over head, I'd love to see Ger Lyons have a real Group 1 performer to take him to all the big days. He's a world-class trainer, and I'd just love to see him have a world-class horse. I'm not sure if this is... It's very early days for him yet. I'd encourage anyone to listen back. There was an interview that Jared did with Off the Ball. It's a broadcast and online thing in Ireland. It's on the radio as well with News Talk. But he did a brilliant piece on the Off the Ball, about 40-minute interview. But it was a super listen. But he talked about Siskin, and there was mention that Monarch of Egypt, who has also entered here, the vibes were that he's going to go and improve passing, that he was in bad need of the run at the Curragh and the Railway. Gerard was kind of dismissing that, saying, have you ever heard of one of Aiden's that really needed the run in that department? But I would tend to think now that there's a right chance that Monarch of Egypt will get closer. I don't know if he'll beat Siskin. I'm looking forward to seeing Arizona, and I have a lot of time for Royal Lytham as well. Ali, as you mentioned, I think Aiden is 10 of the 16 in it, and even I think since 1998, I'm only on the first Phoenix Day I would have been alive for was 1998, and Aiden's won all bar 5 of them. That's an incredible record in the race he has. So it's going to be tough for Ger, but I really hope Siskin is the one. I'd absolutely love it to be the case.
Yeah, Coventry form on the table here with Arizona. He didn't sort of impress loads of people that day in the way he did it, but he still got the job done from an unlikely position.
Yeah, it was a funny performance, wasn't it? I thought he wasn't really going anywhere at halfway. I thought he was struggling slightly, and he was kind of inching towards the front in the last couple of furlongs, but still kind of your eye wasn't drawn to him. It's not like he put distance on the rest, or so it was a workmanlike performance rather than anything that blew you
Fred
away.
Didn't win at Goodwood, of course. He was beaten.
No, that's true as well. So, and again, it's like the Ballyroan. We've got to see what turns up here. If they all turn up, the majority of the ones that have got entries at the moment, then it'll be an absolute classic. And I really, really like Simon Crestwood's horse, Ali.
Yeah.
I had to do the analysis on it when he won at Royal Ascot, and I thought it was a really impressive performance. And then, so I was very keen to watch him when he went to France last time out. I thought he won with so much in hand that day. I mean, he came from quite a long way back.
He did, yeah.
And he collared the second, got in front, and showed a really good turn of foot. Showed everything that you want in kind of a top class racehorse, and I think we haven't really got to the bottom of him yet. Don't forget, he only made his debut shortly before Royal Ascot, and he was actually beaten that day as well. And then he went to Royal Ascot, and people punted him because he clocked a really good time. So it's kind of, some people kind of expected a big run at Royal Ascot, and that's what they got, and that's what they got again in France last time out. If he goes, and I really hope he does, then I wouldn't be looking anywhere else. So he impressed me more than Arizona did, and I'd be looking to him to be the winner.
Yeah, I agree with you. I must admit, I think he's just looked so professional, hasn't he? And I don't think he came from the best position in France, but he just seems to overcome everything, doesn't he, put in his way. Binners, I mean, this is just a classy lineup. Fingers crossed we get them all turning up, but who would you be siding with?
Well, first of all, Maddie, fair play to my former colleague, Ed Prosser, who is Keeneland's European representative. He sent me a text during the week saying, "Are you coming to the Curragh next Friday? We've got an absolute monster clash, Siskin versus Arizona / Monarch of Egypt." So he's promoting Keeneland brilliantly. I don't think Monarch of Egypt will turn the form around with Siskin. Siskin remains unbeaten, slightly rated above the other two, and I think Siskin is a real good horse, and I'd love to see Siskin against Pinatubo at some stage later in the future.
The next race we're going to talk about at the Curragh is the 725. It's the Qatar Racing and Equestrian Club Phoenix Sprint Stakes, Group 3 over the 6 furlongs. The final entries have just come through. And Mark, you have a fancy for us?
Yeah, I like the look of Beckford. I thought he had no looking run on the last day, and just think it's interesting. He was second in the Phoenix 2 years ago on this card. He's a proper classy juvenile, went to America, ran well in a Breeders' Cup, and then went over to Brendan Walsh in the States to stay over there permanently with the same owners. But he suffered an injury over there, only ran once and won once. And since he's come back now, I thought he shaped only okay on his return at Naas, but there was way more to be pleased about last time. In the Speaking Colours, won the race at the Derby meeting. And just Speaking Colours ran well at Goodwood too. I thought he was one to take out of it as well. Didn't get the rub of the green by any means. But I'd be very interested to see Beckford lining up here. Doesn't look the strongest sprint we've had in Ireland so far, this sort of level this season. No Sophia or them sort of horses that were potentially going to look at this race. But otherwise there's Serval and Jesse's is a smart one as well. But for me, Beckford's the one to look forward to.
Yeah, very promising juvenile, wasn't he, back in the day? That's enough for the midweek stuff. Remember, on Saturday, it's the Shergar Cup. Bruce and the team will be here on Friday to preview all that and the 9 ITV races. On that note, if you're looking at tipping, make sure to download our free Racing Post app. You get all the best offers from there. No need to log out if you're wanting to place a bet. Best odds guaranteed, you name it, with the 5 bookmakers now, including Bet365. So make sure you download that app.
Check out Paddy's Rewards Club. Simply place 5 bets of £10 or more across any sport in a week, and you'll get a free £10 bet then next week. T&Cs apply. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
Now it's time to take a spin through the midweek cards, and on Tuesday we're at Catterick, Newbury, Nottingham, Roscommon, Ripon. Wednesday it's Brighton, Sligo, Bath, Pontefract, Yarmouth, Kempton. Thursday Haydock, Brighton, Yarmouth, Leopardstown, Newcastle, Sligo, Sandown. Friday is Thirsk, Brighton, Musselburgh, Haydock, Newmarket, Chelmsford and the Curragh. Where are we at this week, Binners? What are you going to get up to?
Well, I'm trying to work out whether to go over to the Curragh on Friday night or go to the Shergar Cup. At the moment, I'm probably favouring the Keeneland Phoenix Stakes because I'd want to see Ed Prosser. But you never know. I might end up at the Berkshire venue for the Sports Premier Team event. You
get everywhere, don't you, Binners? Where's your next best this week then?
Well, my next best is at Newbury on Tuesday, Maddie. In the mile handicap 425, Richard Hannon, who was banging in winners at Glorious Goodwood for fun. He's got Kesar running. That horse has won on his only start at Newbury. He ran very well last time at Sandown when second, staying on over the 7 furlongs, and I think the step up to a mile looks absolutely perfect for him.
Okay, Mark, what about you?
Yeah, no, I'm at Cork today. We'll be Tipperary later in the week. I'll try and get up to the Curragh if we can, but from a punting point of view, I'll be looking forward to seeing Chow. Gavin Cromwell has been enjoying an incredible summer. And I think that she ran really well over an insufficient trip at Galway. If she runs in the Connacht Oaks, I think it's at 4:35 at Sligo. I'll be really looking forward to seeing her. I think it's on Wednesday, I'm not quite sure. But where she lines up, I'll be really interested to see. She's better over that sort of trip than she is over an extended mile than she did at Galway. But no, look, it'll be a competitive race, but Gavin Cromwell has been enjoying an incredible time with things, and this is a filly that may still have more to offer.
Yeah, he certainly has been having a good run of things, hasn't he? Yeah. Now, before we get to the naps, we've got to plug our tipsters who are in fine form on Friday. Niall O'Reilly tipped Land of Legends and Rose of Kildare, so well done to him. 15.5 to 1 double that was, and G-Rod was also on the mark with King's Advice winning at 7 to 2 as well, so well done to them. Let's see if the this week's panellists can follow suit with the midweek nap.
This will not be beaten.
No next best for you this week, but you do have a nap.
Yeah, just going all in at Bath on Wednesday in the 210. Sylvester Kirk has got a runner called Three Little Birds in the sprint. She'd won over course and distance before. Off a £5 higher mark. She's £5 lower here. Ran a really good race at Ascot last time out, finished second, not beaten very far. So comes here in form off a good handicap mark, good course form. So it's all there for her to go and win on Wednesday.
Yeah, really sweet filly. I agree with you. Good run at Ascot, wasn't it? We'll go over to you, Mark, next.
Well, to bring the house down at Roscommon tomorrow evening, I would love to see the 16-year-old CW notch another victory that would be continuing to create history on this side of the water for quite some time. Just looks to have a great chance off a mark of 86, I think. A very ordinary race. Won around the track last time. Just superbly handled by Ronan McNally and Darragh O'Keefe, who has been the riding find of the season so far here in Ireland. Not that he was still riding well last year, but he had injury issues. But he's been the riding find of the year. CW has been one of the nicest stories to come from the Irish scene all summer. And heart aside, I think he's got a cracking chance again here. Really good opportunity.
Yeah, I'd love to see that, wouldn't you? Great seeing these old boys still going strong. I think 16 now, isn't he? Fantastic. And Binners finally.
Well, tipping like that from Niall O'Reilly, what the hell am I doing on the Postcast for Paddy? But anyway, Mark's already mentioned how brilliant it is when horses win 2 or 3 times at Galway. My good friend, the Curragh Brendan Duke, was delighted to have a third in the handicap hurdle at Galway. A horse called Volatile Lady. She's back in action on Thursday at Sligo in the Mayor's Maiden Hurdle at 5:35. I spoke to him this morning. He reckons she's got an outstanding chance, looks to have a favourite chance, and it'll be great if Brendan can have a winner at Sligo on Thursday.
Fantastic. That's all we've got time for this week. As always, make sure to rate, review and subscribe and keep on top of where we're postcasting this week. As I mentioned earlier, Bruce and the team will be back on Friday for all your Shergar Cup tips, so don't miss that. We'll see you soon.
Paddy Power Games has over 250 of your favourites to play online, and we're going to attempt to name them all in this 10-second ad before the T's and C's kick in. There's Blackjack, 18+, begambleaware.org.